Is the GR Research XLS Encore better than all of these speakers? Well, my opinion, no. We're going to discuss that here today, and I'm going to let you know my thoughts and experiences with this speaker. My name's Keith. This is my YouTube channel, 3D Audio Experience. To preface, this is a channel that is based on binaural audio recordings. I like binaural audio recordings. I think that they're very realistic. If you listen on headphones, it will sound like my hearing is your hearing. So if you're listening to headphones right now, it will sound like my voice is coming out of your body due to the way it is recorded. I find this is great for doing speaker recordings online and listen to them. I find it to be very accurate and realistic. So with that said, these are some of the speakers in my collection, and I am fond of the Celestion SL series. In a comment I made to Danny, I said that the Celestion SL6SI and the SL series in general are some of the best imaging speakers I've ever heard, as well as the KEF LS50 Meta. His response was, well, you wouldn't think that if you'd actually heard something good. Huh. I was like, oh, that's a bold claim. So I wanted to hear it. So I asked to audition the XLS Encore. There was not a pair available to audition. So I had to build it and buy it myself. So I bought this base level kit with the standard polycap capacitors with the no-res foam and the tube connectors. This was an $854 kit with the flat pack, and I assembled it, and here it is. So I wanted to outline my thoughts on comparisons between these speakers that are shown and the XLS Encore. So after I built them, I let them break in, and I did some comparisons. One of the songs that I listened to was a song by Melody Gardot. It's called Les Etoiles. That whole album, My One and Only Thrill, was recorded very, very well. It's an awesome presentation. And I listened to it on the XLS Encore, and I thought, well, it sounded decent. You know, the imaging was there. You know, the tonal balance was flat, which is what's supposed to be. And, yeah, I will give credit there. The speaker does have a nice tonal balance. But when I listen to the speaker, the presentation it provides is not realistic. The ultimate goal in any hi-fi system is to have a system that sounds real. It sounds like the singer is in their own acoustic space in your room, and it's real and convincing. It sounds like it's actually happening in real life. This speaker just falls short. It doesn't do that. It sounds more like an entry-level speaker than it does a true hi-fi contender. So when I listened to that song, I thought, okay, it's decent, but it's not anything great. It's not striking me as real. So then I switched over to the KEF LS50 Meta. Now, in Danny's video of the LS50 Meta, he gives it good marks, but he says that the electrolytic capacitors will make it sound like the singer is singing through a wet rag. Well, when I switched over and played the song again, the level of clarity and purity in Melody Gardot's voice was on a whole nother level than these speakers. It was projected further out into the room. She sounded like she had her own space. The image was stronger right there in the center, right in front of me. I didn't have to listen for it. It stood out. And it was much more realistic and convincing and just way more enjoyable. So after that, I decided to play something that has some really expansive three-dimensional imaging, which is the song Vogue from the Immaculate Collection by Madonna. When I listened to it on the XLS Encore, the soundstage was a bit more two-dimensional, more flat. Not completely two-dimensional. And it sounded wide, but it was flat, kind of oval-shaped, if you will. When I switched over to the KEF LS50 Meta and the Celestion SL6SI, the soundstage was far more coherent. It was spherical, so it sounded like the sounds were further back in the soundstage and further forward, so there's better layering. And everything was easier to depict where it was actually happening. It was more immersive. More three-dimensional and more engaging than the GR Research XLS Encore here. So, you know, with those two songs, it was very clear to me that this speaker is just not performing on the same level as these other speakers. When I listened to the Celestion Kingston, the mid-range and the vocals is just far, far better. So I listen to it a bit more, and I tend to find that the tweeter on the speaker has a bit of a grainy sound to it, which I associate with entry level speakers. It's just like I said, it's not realistic. When I compare it to the other extreme, which would be the Paradigm Persona B, which has the beryllium tweeter, it just sounds completely lifelike to the point where when a sound happens in the music or on the TV, it sounds like it's actually right there. Like it's hard to differentiate from what was real and what was reproduced. On this XLS Encore, it doesn't have that same quality to it altogether. So for a speaker that cost me $854 to build as a kit, when I was able to buy the LS50 Meta for $999.99, fully built, ready to go, and brand new. This is a disappointment to me. I am not impressed with it. I think that it's definitely not the reference standard for stand mount speakers. It's just not. It's not on the same level at all. I lent them to my brother, and when I went over his house, he was listening to his two ways that he built, and when I listened to them, they sounded really good. They had nice punchy bass, awesome, well filled in mid range, nice smooth and clear highs. When we switched over to the XLS Encore, the bass sounded flat and not powerful. It has a very steep drop off, so it's kind of bloated in the bottom end. Right at the bottom end of its response, it sounds bloated. It's not as tight and concise as the LS50 Meta. And then it just drops off really fast. It doesn't have a nice smooth roll off like the LS50 Meta, which that will give you the perception the speaker is larger than it actually is. And it makes it more enjoyable to listen to. It doesn't have that. It rolls off. It drops off very fast. Listening to the highs on some more modern recordings, they tend to sound shrill and very upfront and bright. And it's not an enjoyable thing to listen to, especially on those types of recordings. With the other tweeters that you see here on these speakers, they sound much more crisp and well defined, and all of them have a more coherent soundstage, as I mentioned. So altogether, I'm not impressed with it. I don't think that it was worth my $854 to build and the time associated with building it. It is a neat little kit. If you like to build a kit, it's something to consider. But honestly, for what it's hyped up to be online from these other reviewers, I don't see it. I don't buy it. I honestly struggle with how people have come to that conclusion. Those are my thoughts on the XLS Encore. Altogether, it's a decent speaker. I just feel like it has an entry-level sound and not a true hi-fi, realistic presentation. So, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this. I did make a binaural demo test track that has excerpts of about 20 songs. Then I will be making a recording of these speakers, and you'll be able to hear how they compare to some of the speakers shown here. And you can provide me your thoughts on them. If you've built this speaker and you compare it to the other speakers that you own, feel free to share your thoughts and experiences, and I'd like to hear what you think about them. So this is a perspective coming from someone who's not a paid reviewer. I'm just a hobbyist, and I want to see if they live up to the hype. So those are my thoughts. Thanks again, and have a great day.